All right. Hey, welcome back to the Go for CEO channel. Thank you so much for coming back. We have another great interview and another great small business entrepreneur. I interview CEOs, entrepreneurs, founders, intrapreneurs, people inside of companies that also maybe will never be a CEO, but always treat their business and treat their job like a CEO. But today I have a special guest because this lady has been dynamic, working in the real estate industry, working with those people and working with all different types of industry to really, become who she's become with the visual elements. What a cool name. A great logo she has. You can see it on her lapel right there. And welcome to the Go for CEO channel, Amanda. And by the way, subscribe to the channel. I always forget this, and smash that thumbs up button, because Amanda's going to bring the fire today of sharing with you what she actually does just to build her business and be passionate about what she does in the small business industry. So Amanda, welcome to the Go for CEO channel.
Thanks, John.
Awesome. Awesome. How are you
Pretty
doing?
good. It's kind of gloomy out, but it's still got some sunshine coming through. So
There you go. And you're in Iowa, correct?
I am
Awesome.
Northeast
Awesome.
Iowa. Yep.
Hey, it's kind of like that smack dab in the middle type of state. So excited to have you on. So, one of the things that we usually start with, Amanda, is just a little bit of your background, kind of the before you started the visual element and your organization, your business. Tell us a little bit about you, kind of your upbringing, and then, we'll kind of transition into the business and what you're doing today.
All right. I'm actually from Illinois.
Oh, okay.
My parents bought a farm out here in 1997, and we kind of lived here on the weekends until about 2006 when I moved here full time. I went to college for graphic design, and now I'm going back and working towards an MBA in organizational development.
Hmm.
So I tend to do lots of like artsy, outside, exploring scientific things, which I think kind of goes within my graphic design of how like the process I use to create those pieces. Um, yeah, graphic design to me is like a lot more than just slapping some words and pictures onto a canvas and then calling it a message. It's a lot deeper than that for me.
So it's really a passion, it sounds like. And how cool is it that you've turned it into an actual business that you make money at and you build all these relationships with? So tell us, did you work at a company before, or did you, when you got out of college, just kind of fall right into starting your own business? How was that dynamic?
I've worked for a few newspapers. I used to lay out three newspapers every week. Um, and then various other places. I've worked in a print shop, so then I could understand like the background and how that whole back end process works. Um, and then from there, I just had a whole lot of life changes and decided that being here was more important than working for someone else because they didn't understand that passion behind it. So that's where I'm at now.
Awesome. Well, and a lot of people, I'm sure, watching this channel, really have that kind of that inside burning desire, kind of what you're sharing, right? Is you're somewhere working, you're doing a job, right? But maybe not fulfilling some of the things that you really want to kind of attack. And I don't know if you ever asked inside those jobs that, would they let you do it? But it sounds like, they just really didn't have that kind of similar passion and allowed you to spread your wings. So take us to those, first beginning steps of, the visual elements. How did you come up with the name? Who did you talk to? Did you have any mentors in the business? How did you start to formulate the idea of the visual element?
I've actually been working on it for quite some time. I It took me a long time to come up with the visual element because I was trying to portray who I am and what I do in a very condensed format. Um, so when I think of that, I think of in that whole process, that's who I am and what I do, I can visualize what the message is and transform it and manifest it into this like physical format for other people to understand. So like I become that like medium or the element of that visual communication.
Wow. That's a great description. I mean, I think some people maybe just slap a name on a business, or don't maybe sometimes have that big of a thought. It's not one of those things that sometimes can be a total thought provoking, but it sounds like you really got into it, really manifested, like you said, and just kind of understood where you wanted to go with. So pretty awesome. So take us through those beginning days. Obviously you're at a job. You weren't really that happy. You kind of have some life things going on. You're in Iowa. You're making some changes. So what are those first few months starting the visual element? Take us through some of those that journey.
So randomly people just kind of come to me. So one of my first bigger clients was this one of my, well, he's kind of a neighbor. He is an Amish commercial egg producer.
Hmm.
So I helped him redo his brochure so that he looked a little more professional and like modern. And now that they've grown to, they deliver to Chicago and Minneapolis and all over the Midwest here now. So that's pretty cool.
Wow.
But I first started like with one computer and one little printer, and my mom actually helped me make the investment into my computer because I didn't have the money to do that. And I just started in my living room and grew until I didn't even have a living room anymore. It was all my office, and then my kids were getting a little claustrophobic in there. So then we decided to build this. I'm actually above my garage. This is the second floor. So this is my studio now.
Awesome, man. And I can see a lot of things. I know offline, we were talking about some of the printer stuff, and everything kind of put together the right way. And I mean, what a cool experience, right? I mean, I know in 2020, we're in 2021. Anybody listening right now, in 2020, we all kind of went to home. I'm still adjusting myself. I have a regular office, but this is kind of a little space I made for myself for these interviews. But really cool to see that, and so nice to hear that you're able to work from home. I know you mentioned having kids and all that good stuff. So
Mhm.
so when you get this investment from your mom, you start to think about, well, I've never really owned a business, but I just got this gentleman who's a neighbor who gave me a chance to do something. Was it just starting to formulate in your mind, hey, okay, all right, I could really do this on my own and not have to work a job? Or did you kind of do it part-time while you had a job to still pay bills and stuff like that? Or
Yeah, so I actually worked weekends at a campground doing serving, and I was pretty much the assistant manager. And I'm also the assistant library director at the library here, but due to COVID, that's pretty much been obsolete. So I really have focused in on just my business and what I can do to scale that.
I love it. All right. Well, hey, these are the little things, right? Nuances. How do you start up a business? Well, sometimes you collaborate with your mom or your parents and say, hey, can you give me a little startup capital? But you develop these skills. You went to school, developed the skills at a job, but then flourished kind of seeing, one opportunity coming from your neighbors. So tell us a little bit about then, you get this one job. They obviously were happy. It seems like you've helped them grow, at least part of what you do within their business. Now they're around the whole Midwest. Did they refer you to someone else, or how did you start the marketing plan to be able to let people know about the visual element?
I guess I've been on social media a lot, but a lot of, because I'm in a pretty small community, anything I do here is pretty much word of mouth.
Okay.
So I'm also part of like the Friends of the Library. So then I do work for any of those kind of like fundraisers. Um, I have a big soft spot for nonprofits. So like the food shelf that I volunteer at here, I'm trying to help them create um, of a brand and an image, and get them out in the public more so that they are known for what they do, because they do have a huge impact, and I don't
Mm.
think people realize how big of an impact they make.
It cut out just a little bit. Who are you talking about again?
One of the food shelves I work at here,
The food shelters?
yeah, just like a food pantry.
Oh, wow. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. And you've been able to help them and kind of grow their image
Yeah.
and branded. So, wow, what a cool thing. Awesome. Awesome. So, yeah, I mean, look, here we go, right? You're on your own. You're starting a business. You're also having some part-time things you do with the library and things like that. But you're living life, right? You're in the good old state of Iowa, and you're building it from a small community perspective. So tell us a little bit about some of the things that you started to venture out. How did people start to hear from you? Maybe from Facebook? Are you big on Instagram? How did you use social media to grow your brand?
I think a lot of that's just networking and finding connections and like-minded people. So I'm always kind of looking at um, or looking for people that are of the same kind of mindset, because it's kind of rare here. So that's a challenge for in-person networking for me, at least.
Just
So
from the community that you're in, you think, or is that what you're talking about?
yeah, I think the community, but also like COVID's like made it impossible to even go out and like have coffee with people because there's no place open.
Yeah, jeez. Yeah, no, it's obviously we can't just skip over it. It is 2021, but definitely a tough year for many.
Mhm.
But I'll give a inside clue to the Go for CEO community. Part of some things that I do is real estate, and I have a good buddy that owns a big brokerage and in Illinois. So why don't we go into that story? How did you meet Nick and the exit strategy realty, um, you know, business model, and how did that develop?
I was actually working for one of the agents in one of her own separate ventures before, and I just they were looking for another designer, and she was like, "Hey, give this girl a try," and it's just kind of escalated from there.
Awesome. So and did you just do projects for realtors themselves, or did you go right to Nick as the brokerage owner and do some custom stuff for the company itself?
I started with just custom stuff for the company, but then it's developed into now I'm branding each individual agent.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. That's awesome.
It is
So
awesome. Yes.
has
Yeah.
that now, have you been able to kind of get and start working with a large amount of the realtors, or do you ask for then a referral within the network, or do you put I see some of your emails come through that just kind of share some of the things that you're doing. So tell us a little bit about how you develop that side.
That's something I'm still working on. So I'm trying to figure out the best tools to give them so that they can grow and not need me anymore. Um, yeah. So that is definitely something I'm developing. So each agent under Nick gets their own brand. So I feel like for a real estate brokerage, that's very unique. Um, and so when we get to that stage, when a new agent comes in and they don't have that, name or logo or anything, um, it's trying to figure out how to streamline that process so that they understand that I'm not just trying to give them a logo and send them on their way. I'm here to build their brand from their passion and who they are as an individual, rather than just, yeah, that's blank page.
That's neat. Now, do you have a process by now as far as just let's say you meet someone new, call me the new realtor that joins the organization. What are some things that you do to kind of help enhance that process to help them get through that journey? Is there any beginning conversations that you have, exploratory sessions, those types of things?
Yeah, so I've developed a branding workbook. So that gives you questions and ideas on how to actually, take a look inside yourself and figure out who you are and why you're doing it, where your passion lies. And from there, then we have this like exploratory session that I just talk you through it and see, I listen to what you have to say, and then I can transfer that into like an image or um, some kind of name or something that like is this small, tiny little package of what you are and what you have to offer.
That's sweet. I mean, it's really cool to go through that journey, right? Especially, I'm sure someone new that they don't know exactly. Okay, well, what's the image that I want to, bring to the table? Your cool logo on your lapel there. It says something about you, right? And people are probably intrigued by like, wow, what is that? It's kind of an infinity, kind of an A. Like, what is that all about? So, do you get questions even for your own styles and things like that that you've been able to create?
Yeah, yeah, my A has definitely been something people ask me about, because it is an A, but if not, but it is how like I write my A.
Mhm.
So that's actually where it came from. Is that's how I like, yeah, I just drew my A digitally, and that was me. That was my element.
Nice, nice. Awesome, awesome. Well, look, we've talked a little bit about, a little bit about marketing, how you kind of got onto social media and, obviously you did some local, marketing and sharing the vision of what you were starting. Then all of a sudden you break through to one of the realtors in a pretty big group out here in Chicago. So tell us, what other industries do you also serve and how did you get into those?
um, a lot of things I do are just like here and there, but I'm working on more healthcare, I guess,
Hmm.
more like spirituality kind of deals to businesses. So I'm trying to figure out where those people are and how I can find them.
Spirituality, like healing and energies and those types of things, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, we should check out one of our interviews on Go for CEO. Mark Hernandez, I believe it is, and People and Pets Energetics, if I'm recalling correct. But yeah, look at our videos, and he's a healer and energetics person. So that might be a good connection we need to connect you with, right? So we're marketing all the time, right? Awesome, awesome. Well, so tell us. I mean, right now, you started the business how long ago? I don't think I actually asked that.
I really started pushing it in 2018. So not that
2018. So okay, so almost 3 years, depending on what time in 18 you started. We're starting January here, 2021. So you're almost 3 years into this business. Obviously you're doing some other things that kind of part timers with the library and everything, but really this is your main gig. So what do you see as how you're growing? Is there do you how do you put these clients? Do they put them on retainer? Do they pay you a monthly subscription? Let's talk a little bit about how you generate that revenue, or is it just every time you get referred someone, then you give them maybe three choices of layouts and things that you want to do?
that really depends on who it is and what they're asking for.
Mhm.
So I am moving more towards kind of like a subscription. So say you have 20 agents under you, then I would do like a monthly fee and up to so many hours. And then after that, it'd probably be hourly or whatnot. So, like, every agent would get the branding package, templates for like a just listed, just closed, all those kinds of things that they can use themselves. And then anything else that is kind of random. So, if they have an event or something that needs a little bit more than just a template, then I would be able to do that for them.
Oh, that's awesome. And that starts to create even more cash flow for you, right? Instead of just kind of being a little bit herky jerky in business is always how we all start out, right? Is one random client, then another random client, but you try to build that model where you hopefully have that consistency of cash flow as well. So interesting. So is that one of the projects then this year? Do you have anything modeled out, or how are you kind of going through that process for yourself?
I'm currently building a lot of those tools so that when somebody comes in that's new, then I already have that package to offer.
Mm,
So, um, but a lot of it is trying to figure out which platforms people are on. So, like Canva,
oh,
I I struggled a little with Canva because I'm a legit designer and I do everything from scratch. So when I go to Canva, it's very like constrictive, and I personally struggled with that. But to get that in a place that other people can use it, I'm working on it.
interesting. Okay. Well, and yeah, there's different tools out there, right? Even different competition. I mean, let's be honest. There's there's the kind of reduced, I guess, price levels from these fibers, and we won't give those guys plugs and stuff. But I mean, you're the real deal, right? You studied for it. You created. You became a master at what you're doing. So obviously, you charge a certain amount, and that's what you're worth, right? So it's an interesting battle, right? Especially nowadays with technology and having access all around the world from different people that may charge less or more or whatever. So interesting dynamics. So in the operations side, tell us, or kind of walk us through. You get an order. What do you do to kind of get yourself in that mindset to sit in front of, I don't know if it's legitimately the computer, or do you hand draw something? Like, how do you get into this creative mode that you are?
I have started in the morning. I meditate and do yoga so that I myself am centered, and from there, sometimes I do like an art piece just to like kind of get that, yeah, creative energy flowing. But it really kind of depends on what it is. So things like a just listed flyer are relatively easy for me to just produce. But if it's like a logo, then I'm taking a lot more time to actually think about what that message needs to be and how I need to form it in a way that's understood by most people.
Hmm.
So that is a lot of like drawing or collaging or painting or just randomly sketching out words. So that process takes a little bit longer.
So give the audience a little bit about, so you entertain, you have a conversation with someone to become a client, and they commit to you and you commit to them. So now that creative part, what do you think it takes? Would you just guesstimate a few hours of just kind of just even just in your mind trying to figure out, they just gave you all this information and you had the discovery call. What does that look like when then you start to, implement?
So that depends on if that person knows what or who they are and
Mm,
if they can convey that to me. So if they don't know, then there's already a disconnect there. So we have to keep working on that together. So
mm,
then I would ask for another like follow-up call. Like think about these three questions and then let me know what you find. But
okay.
for me, if somebody knows what they want and are sure of everything, it could be 5 minutes, it could be 12 hours. It really kind of depends on how that manifests itself. Sometimes I start with one little line and it just develops into this whole thing, like a whole composition, but it really kind of just happens. I gotta let it just happen.
That's awesome. Well, look, I mean, this type of business is different, right? It's not a mechanic shop. You're not coming into, changing oil or, or even, a dentist, right? Obviously, they have certain things that they do to check out your teeth and stuff. But gosh, you're in an industry that, and just a function that is so about how you're feeling, what your energy is coming from, what you're thinking about, what did the client share, and then hopefully when you deliver, what's that experience? I guess that's kind of the next thing on my list of understanding. I hope the community gets to hear is, when you deliver, do you deliver two or three different choices? And then how does that form into the final product?
Sometimes I can't decide between, like, if I've come up with a few, then I can't decide which one feels right to me. I definitely present all of the things that I've gone through to get to that point to whoever the client is.
Mm.
Sometimes I'll even like screen share so that we can like work on it together, because that seems to be more efficient, and then I can read that person a little bit better too.
Wow. Man, you got a little psychological stuff that you have to go through too, right? You're kind of juggling personality, vision, juggling, emotions, and all these things that you're doing to be able to grow your business and work with that specific client. That's pretty awesome. So awesome, awesome. Well, look, I really obviously want to make sure that the Go for CEO community gets to, hear all the different nuances that you've done to really build your business. So, what's initial investment? You talked, mom kind of helped you kind of get that first computer and everything. But what would you say someone, if you take a look at the background that you have with all these machines and things that you have going on, what do you think it really takes if you were to kind of sum it all together? A good investment for someone to say like, hey, I'm gonna do it like Amanda, with the visual element, and I'm gonna get ready the right way. What would you say is a good investment that they would have to do to really start up this type of business?
Are you asking in terms of
Just,
monetary dollars or just?
yeah, just a guesstimate. I mean, if you take the printers, the level that you want to be at, the right type of computer, some other things that you may think. What do you think a good estimate? Because I want to give someone maybe a visual of, hey, I want to start this type of business. I want to be like Amanda. It's going to take $20,000 to get this going.
To where I'm at, it's probably closer to 50,000.
50,000. Okay. Awesome. So look, I mean, that's a good investment, right? And you've done it through almost 3 years of trial and errors and building up your clientele. So different, types of areas. You kind of even went through the industries that you're working with, right? With the real estate side and the
Mhm.
healing side. So really cool stuff. So anything else that before I go into the kind of the typical last three questions, which is client experience and what makes the visual element a differentiating company, employee engagement, and operational excellence. Oh, let's get with that. Sorry to kind of interrupt the thought pattern there, but do you work outside of yourself? Do you have subcontractors, or do you have anybody helping you inside the business at this moment?
No, it's just me.
Just you. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you're a solopreneur right now, right? Just kind of building your business until you get maybe like, have you seen where over the next maybe 6 months you might get so busy that you contract someone out, or do you have anybody lined up on your bench that could maybe not deliver the way that you do as far as your expertise, but could help you on some of the nuanced things that maybe are minutia type activities?
Yep. So I've contacted my local university, actually
Okay.
the school I went to, and I am going to be meeting with one of the graphic design students there. So apparently the professor there retired this year, so they don't even have a professor right now.
Wow.
So if I can teach them quicker what I already know, then maybe they don't even need that type of background.
All right. Hey, another way to get paid, right? Hey, university, listen to Amanda. She's your new professor.
Right.
To add a little bit to what you're doing, right? So awesome, awesome. Well, hey, internships, obviously getting that cheaper labor, but helping them learn. There's a lot of satisfaction as that in that as well, right? To see someone younger than you that develops that skill set, kind of like you were doing, and maybe they come to work for you as you grow as well too. So neat. Well, why don't we look to kind of wrap up the interview here? And I'm so thankful that you came on board, and I know that you're super busy, so I appreciate your time. But why don't we start with that final value proposition, right? C in the CEO mindset is client experience. So you tell us, what do you think makes the visual element, that value proposition, the difference when you think about that client experience when they come to work with you?
So I'm really trying to focus more on each client and what they need and how I can best help them grow and develop their own business. So I really think the discovery sessions and just talking one on one to help even through problems that don't even or seemingly don't relate to whatever we're doing, but just having them build that kind of design thinking and those methods of how you can process problems that way.
That's awesome. Wow. It's got to be something that's so cool to really kind of get into someone's mind and have that initial conversation and way beyond, hey, what you're going to pay me. Just those interactions have to be so fulfilling, I would think. So thank you for sharing that. And I know that you're kind of in this solopreneur stage right now of your business, but you did mention you're getting these college students and maybe having them kind of work on some ancillary stuff. So what are some things that you do to maybe engage them, or have you started that just yet as far as employee engagement? So maybe not your employees, but how are you getting them to, interact with one of the deals that you may have that you want them to work on?
I don't know if I do that yet.
Okay, okay, and that's fair. That's fair. So you're teaching them right now, not necessarily having them work on anything with you.
Right.
Okay, so let's
Besides like workbooks and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Awesome. So, how about operational excellence? What do you think you're doing that's just different in the system that you use, like from bringing in a client, discovery, then step one, step two, step three? What are some things that you think you bring to the table in the visual element and what you guys do to be the best?
I really think it's just that one-on-one interaction and networking with people, finding out what they need and how I can help fulfill that need, even if it's not design related.
Okay. I love it. Well, hey, I think it's so cool. I'm excited, for this channel because I want to bring on people like yourself. I mean, obviously, we're not famous, right? We're not Mark Cuban and, all these famous people. I want to really bring the real good stories, the small business startups to, and I tweaked it. I used to say 25 million, but it's up to a billion because in America, small business is actually 0 to 10 million. And then medium-sized businesses 10 million to a billion. So it's funny, you would think a billion, wow, that's a huge company. It's actually still a medium-sized company. So hopefully one day, Amanda, the visual element is doing $1 billion, right, a year. So but you're growing towards that. So and then 6 months from now, we want to have you back. Maybe some of one or two of those students are now maybe doing some internship for you or working for you. Who knows where this goes? And you bring on two or three more real estate agents or more. So I'm excited to have you on in 6 months and kind of chronicle the journey. I want people to follow your story, just like a lot of the other interviewees that we have. And I want the community to follow your story and leave a comment. So any other thing that you would share with the community at Go for CEO, Amanda, of what it really takes and or how you want to leave your last message?
I just think that everyone is connected in a way that it's hard to put into words. And so when somebody like me comes along and I can actually take those feelings or whatever you want to call it and put it into something that you can understand, I think is a hard task. And um, not many people can do it. And it's just definitely been a driver for me.
I mean, talk about passion, talk about, really kind of connecting with people and what they really want. And gosh, I mean, so why don't we leave with the website, how someone can contact you, what social media sites you're on? Because I really want people to, if they see this mess and they really kind of hear and visualize that passion that you have for how you can help them. Go ahead and tell them how to connect with you.
My website is thevisualelement.org and any social media platforms at the visual element. So it's pretty easy to find.
Oh, neat. So you're on from, let's say, Instagram and Facebook and all this, all as the visual element.
Yep.
Awesome, awesome. And we'll
Yeah.
put it on the bottom description, everyone, or the top description, and we'll put this on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, on all the platforms, YouTube. Obviously that you're watching on YouTube. So thank you so much, Amanda. We look forward to reconnecting in about 6 months. And hey, by the way, subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment for Amanda. She's going to be watching this and seeing if you leave a comment so she can interact with you. Obviously, touch base with her if you're in any industry that really wants to go back and go, hey, I need to rethink the way that my imaging is, my branding, my way of coming out, my visual element. So thanks so much, Amanda. I appreciate your time, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you.